story that we're tracking at this hour. In a massive setback for China's real estate sector, Evergrande Group, known as the world's most indebted developer, has been ordered to liquidate by a Hong Kong court after an 18-month-long hearing. The Chinese property giant faced a crushing burden of over $300 billion in liabilities, leading to its default on debts in 2021. The crisis in the real estate sector and its impact on capital markets could further complicate Beijing's efforts to revive the economy and may lead to increased calls for additional stimulus measures in future. Remember, Evergrande had been working on a $23 billion debt revamp plan with bondholders, which fell apart in September of 2023. Here's more in this report.
Chinese property giant Evergrande has been told to liquidate in a move set to send ripples through financial markets. The Hong Kong court gave the order Monday morning. It comes after the world's most indebted developer was crushed by more than $300 billion in liabilities. The firm defaulted on its debts back in 2021, throwing the country's whole property market into turmoil. Now the liquidation order is likely to deepen the crisis in the sector and jolt China's fragile capital markets. Beijing was already grappling with an underperforming economy and stocks wallowing near 5-year lows. Now any new hit to markets could undermine revival efforts and ramp up demands for more stimulus measures. Evergrande had been working on a $23 billion debt revamp plan with bondholders, but those efforts were scuppered last September when billionaire founder Hui Kaiyan was put under investigation for suspected crimes. A liquidation petition was first filed back in June 2022, but the proceedings were adjourned multiple times as Evergrande scrambled for a survival plan. At least 3 other developers have already been ordered to liquidate by Hong Kong courts.
And Evergrande's crisis could bring down the economy and the revival and the hopes of revival for China in near term. My colleague Karthik Malhotra here with me in the studio. Karthik, hi. It is as big as it gets for China. One of the biggest, most indebted property developers in the world, not coming back anytime soon if the Hong Kong order is to go by. What does it really mean for Chinese property market first and then the Chinese economy?
So Shweta, I think 2 very critical aspects to consider here. Number one, since this is a Hong Kong court's order on liquidation of Evergrande's assets in Hong Kong, and Hong Kong is just 10% of the total market that Evergrande controls when it comes to its own projects. 90% of Evergrande's business is actually in mainland China. So what is left to be seen right now is that is the Chinese government in Beijing really going to adhere to the ruling of the Hong Kong court's order, and is this order going to be applicable in China as well? That is something that is yet to be known. Now let's consider both the scenarios. If this order were to be ignored by the Chinese government, then we are talking about liquidation of just about 10% of Evergrande's assets which are in Hong Kong, which will fetch it a market price because Hong Kong, unlike China, is still a better doing economy right now. Now, specifically in China right now, the issue is that if the liquidation were to go through in China, then this is a very, very large conglomerate. In fact, it had $300 billion in debt in 2021. And almost 2 years on, there has been absolutely no restructuring plan by the management of Evergrande to be able to pay back its debt. Now, this debt is not only from within China, this is from outside China as well. So, if China were to go ahead and liquidate Evergrande, who's going to buy it? That is question number one. It's not that the economy is doing great and the real estate sector is booming. In fact, quite the opposite. So if the real estate sector is not doing well, if there isn't enough demand for housing, for real estate within the country, which remember had been one of its biggest drivers, taking it to those 8%, 9% growth levels pre-pandemic. But post-pandemic, we haven't seen, during and post-pandemic, we've seen consumption in China dip. So if the liquidation option were to be exercised in China, who's going to buy Evergrande's assets and at what cost? And even if there was to be a suitor who goes ahead and executes this distress sale, which becomes an opportunity purchase for the buyer, then what is that buyer going to do with these hundreds and thousands of flats and housing inventory which has been lying vacant.
Absolutely.
So who would want to get into China's real estate property market right now when the bubble has actually burst about 2 years back? And if you enter, you are lumped with an inventory that Evergrande has been lumped with no takers.
Absolutely. So nobody is willing to buy, hoping to buy. What does it really mean for China, Karthik? Because on the back of the fact that China has been introducing stimulus on stimulus, the growth is not picking up just as yet. It's not quite in line with what was expected as of this year in 2024. The last quarter of
Shweta, the big stimulus package of $280 billion is still pending. So we don't know the timelines. We don't know what the focus of that stimulus package is going to be. Is that package going to be focused only on real estate? Is that going to be focused on automobiles? Because these have been the two biggest drivers of the Chinese economy. And if the stimulus package is directed as these two sectors by way of reduction in taxes, softer loans to buyers, etc., it should result in some sort of a fillip for the Chinese economy, especially on the consumption side. But the point is, where is China also going to get that $280 billion right now to? And if it is going to pick up that money from its own reserves, then that money can be better deployed in getting the factories of China running again, in getting people employed again. So would you rather not employ people, because unemployment rates in China are hovering in the range of about 20%. So should the job of the stimulus for any economy is bad. It is this injection, it's a band-aid approach. It is going to solve the symptoms. It's not really going to cure the problems.
Absolutely.
So if you give that stimulus, would that stimulus be focused towards industry to really be able to get people back in job and consumption to pick up organically? Or should it be focused directly to people and give money in the hands of people and get them to go and buy? So the former should be the approach of any mature economy, and I think China has been one, even though there are problems of late. But overall, Evergrande, I think, is just the tip of the iceberg. You could see a country garden fall. You could see other real estate giants in China slowly come to a standstill and eventually collapse. So that is the larger real estate agony in China which is brewing right now, and Evergrande is just the first of the chips to fall, if it really does fall in mainland China, which again is question mark right now.
All right, the story is currently still developing. We'll keep getting you all the more details. What we do know for sure is that a Hong Kong court has now ordered liquidation of Evergrande, which, by the way, the territory, Hong Kong holds only 10% of Evergrande, 90% is still operational in China. Whether that will also go into liquidation, we don't know, but the court order has finally come through in Hong Kong court, where the legal counsel, of course, argued for Evergrande to be remained operational, and the overall understanding was enough is enough when it comes to Evergrande's and the extensions, the 7 extensions it has been given in the past. I think we'll leave it at that. We'll be back after this very short break.
Somewhere I feel you're both a creator and a destroyer, like a Lord Shiva and Brahma in one. You created all these businesses, but finally most of the businesses either it has lost out on the way, even the successful one, you've lost control, or you in some other you've lost the leadership. Do you, like you are a creator, it was your own creation, do you also hold yourself responsible some way?
No business which was successful has been destroyed.
Has been taken.
Ownership is a very different thing. The Zee Entertainment Enterprise Limited or Zee Media or Dish TV or City Cable or any of the businesses which I have created will never die.
Not die, but the control you always wanted.
It doesn't matter control. Who's you will never lose. You will never have a control. Ek din to khali haath jana hai. So I am not a control freak. I want to create things.
Why do you think the whole world always would have had his eyes on your businesses? And you have been throttling so many takeover bids. So you first befriended none other than Rupert Murdoch. And then you also stood up against him and said that India is not for sale. So why have people been so much enticed to come and take over your businesses?
Well, लड़की सुंदर होती है तो उसके पीछे बहुत लड़के आते हैं. If you have a successful business, people will want to have that business.
You recently in this Zee Entertainment, with regard to that, you called me up and said that Barun, Zee ko bachana hai. I mean, I obviously said that quite rightly, that I'm too insignificant for that. But what was the issue? Who were you saving Zee from?
The people, those who wanted to grab the Zee Entertainment.
No, but that's
Enterprise
Invesco
Limited.
Was coming in between the merger, right?
Invesco and the Invesco's supporter behind the scene.
So what happened?
They wanted to take over the business. And
they
we wanted to save that, and we have succeeded to save.
But you saved, but Sony is still a multinational, right? It's still not an Indian
Sony
company.
We have merged with each other. We are partners.
But they have the majority share.
They have majority, but doesn't matter.
Usually, you were very against multinationals. You wore your Indianness up your sleeves. But in this case,
Japanese are very different.
Japanese,
they are like Indians.
So you have a problem with the Western world, and I think
I don't say Western world, particular individuals or particular kind of corporations.
Your shareholding has dropped from 41% plus to 4% in Zee.
We will again increase our stake to more than 25%.
Oh, really? What about the double A's? Have the Ambanis made a takeover bid of Zee Entertainment ever?
I will not like to comment.
You'll not like to comment.
This and more. Streaming on News 9 Plus. News is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
Welcome back. You're watching Business Plus. Zee Entertainment founder Subhash Chandra's family will eventually lift their stake in the media house to 26% from the current 4%. Chandra confirmed his plans on Monday. Now, Chandra first shared, remember, his future plans on Zee in Duologue with TV9 Network's MD and CEO Barun in December of 2022. Now, days after the merger with Sony India's unit collapsed, Zee Subhash Chandra confirmed to news media in an exclusive interview on Monday that the company would not raise funds and would insist on family members to increase their shareholding in the company. Now, Sony terminated the $10 billion merger deal with Indian broadcaster as of 22nd of January after 2 years of negotiation, seeking a $90 million in termination fee from Zee for alleged breach of terms of agreement. Zee since then has denied any wrongdoing. Quickly listening to what Subhash Chandra told Barun in Duologue.
Your shareholding has dropped from 41% plus to 4% in Zee.
We will again increase our stake to more than 25%.
Oh, really? What about the double A's? Have the Ambanis made a takeover bid of Zee Entertainment ever?
I will not like to comment.
You'll not like to comment.
Karthik, I would like to think that we knew this before many knew this, because Subhash Chandra initially told this to us exclusively at TV9 on Duologue about a year ago from now. But we do know now for certain that Subhash Chandra is not giving up just as yet. He's going to put up a fight. He's going to increase stake, but he's also saying he's not going to raise money. What does it really mean for the company?
No, so I think they will have to raise money, Shweta, but they will not want to take the debt route. That is exactly what Subhash Chandra has told Mint in that interview, where he has confirmed and rather reiterated, if not confirmed, that the family will increase stake from 4% to about 26%. You're right, we've known this for a while now, but I think this was not priority for Subhash Chandra for all of the last 1 year in the hope for the Zee-Sony merger to go through. Now that the merger is not going through, I think Subhash Chandra is trying to do everything in his power to prevent a hostile takeover to take place. Now, this obviously entails that the family, not just Subhash Chandra himself, but Subhash Chandra, his son Puneet Goenka, and also his younger son Amit, who's based out of Dubai, are jointly going to exercise more ownership in the Zee Entertainment Enterprises Limited stock by purchasing either from the open market or from others who own Zee. And this includes mutual funds, this includes LIC of India, this includes many other institutional players, both domestic and foreign.
Right.
So the question is, do they have enough money to immediately raise stake, maybe a percent or two? Yes. To take it up from 4% to 26% is something which, I mean, you know, the company is valued at $165 billion. So it's obviously, you know, a large 165,000 crore rupees, which of course is a large value. $2 billion is the valuation. So 26% of that will entail about $500 million. $500 million is not pocket change even for Subhash Chandra. So will he be able to do it immediately? We don't know how. He wants to do it. The intention is to do it, and he wants to do it without raising any more debt. Now remember, he has also told Mint in that same interview, defending Puneet Goenka all along, stating that Puneet Goenka is the right person for the job, stating that it is a complex business which produces about 50 hours of content every day, and that requires somebody who understands the intricacies of that business.
Absolutely.
And that happens to be Puneet Goenka. At the same time, he's also suggesting that Puneet Goenka is somebody who is liked by people. He is a people's person, and if there is one rightful person to lead the merger, it is going to be Puneet Goenka.
Right.
All of this coming at the back of questions being asked on whether the entire community, the entire family at Zee Enterprises actually acted in selfish interest instead of shareholder interest. But what Subhash Chandra has also gone on record to say today is that, or what got published today, is that this was never really an issue, and there was a communication between Sony and Zee where Subhash Chandra had said that we were okay to not let Puneet Goenka, take charge as the CEO, and that was not really.
So that was the bone of contention.
That was not really the bone of contention, and Sony did not have a problem with that. So shareholders are right now up in arms against the family, the promoter family, saying that you should have let somebody else take control, take charge as the management head. He's saying that was never the problem, and the deal might not have gone through in any case.
All right, so we don't know what the problem was then,
we don't
because
know
that is what has been the reading so far, that it was the Puneet Goenka and the contention around him taking the leadership position in the merged entity. All in all, what we do know so far is that the merger is not going through, and Goenkas as well as Subhash Chandra bullish on Zee Entertainment, hoping to up their stake from current 4% to 26% in future. We're going to leave it at that, but as a part of our ongoing coverage of the budget 2024, we are talking about what makes the economy going and what gives government enough money in their pockets, the taxation. Now, we all know that taxation plays a pivotal role in the economic growth of a country. Since the advent of GST, the government has tried to reduce taxation complexities, iron out compliance hiccups and anomalies with respect to various issues. However, there are still a plethora of issues on which industry seeks government intervention. Let's discuss all aspects of indirect tax, including GST, and what could be in order by the way of changes in indirect taxation regime in budget 2024. Joining us is Girish Manwari, founder at Transaction Square and former national leader tax KPMG. Thank you very much, Girish, for taking time out. I think we'll begin by first asking you, as far as GST is concerned, there are of course various expectations from what could be in order when it comes to changes that are expected from the goods and service tax regime. What are your big expectations, sir?
Actually, to be honest, I don't see too much happening on the GST front